There we go. Anyway, so this is the March Realtors Association of Edmonton information. You'll see some green upward marks and you'll see some red downward marks. Green basically is how March did compared to February, and the down marks are how March did from last March. And actually spring of 2022 was a crazy time in Edmonton, as well as pretty much all of Canada. And now we've kind of come down to earth a little bit. And like that. There we go. Oh, I gotcha. Okay, fair enough. All right, some items of note. Total sales decreased 40 or nearly 45% from March last year, but they went up 42% from February. Detached unit sales, and I've got a couple of asterisks there because Ray has actually slightly changed its description of certain properties. Instead of single family homes, they now call them detached units. And instead of half duplexes, they call them semi-attached. So minor little thing, but just in case you're kind of wondering what's going on as that language starts to enter into the Edmonton real estate market, that's why. Detached homes averaged $459,000, down 6% from last year and up 6% from February. And we're sitting around 49 days on market. So I love the home price index. It really gives me a good idea in regards to what's happening in particular neighborhoods, towns, or cities over a particular time. It basically gives you a benchmark look at a particular type or style of property in a particular neighborhood. This here is Edmonton Composite. This is every type of property, and it goes back the last 12 months. So you can see that we have really enjoyed a roller coaster ride. We were at $452,000 for the HPI benchmark in March. We actually jumped up a little bit April, May, and we are now at 417. That's about a difference of 8%. So we're down about 8% from March to March year over year. And we love to see the upward tick. Again, May 2nd, we're going to see whether or not that red line continues to go up or else if it starts to level off. But I think we all feel like it's going to be continuing to move up. Unemployment rate. So this is a bit of a good news, bad news story. The good news is obviously unemployment is going down. The bad news is that the Bank of Canada isn't super happy about that because as unemployment goes down, the economy gets going and potentially inflation goes back up. So this is going to be an interesting one to watch. It's obviously from what we're used to, unemployment is a good news story, but just something to keep in mind that if this starts to get going a little too fast, then we might be looking at a different language coming out of the Bank of Canada, which right now is that things are going to continue to be somewhat the same over the next few months. March inflation for Canada, 4.3%. It's down from 5.2, so we are trending down. This is the lowest level since August 2021. Again, it's mostly because of lower gas prices. The core inflation, which takes out food and gas, is sitting at 4.5. March inflation in Alberta is the lowest in Canada at 3.3. The highest is Manitoba at about 5.2%. Bank of Canada expects to hit its 2% inflation target by the end of 2024. And we have a little bit of a breather in the fact that the next Bank of Canada interest rate announcement is not till, yes, what do I know? Keaton, let's talk afterwards. June 7th is the next announcement. So aside from James's 40th birthday, April 12th was a big day, and that was the Bank of Canada saying that interest rates are going to hold. So what did this do? We believe that it brought a lot of wait and see buyers into the market. They're not all going to rush in at once, but we do feel, and some of our conversations with people from the buying side are that, okay, I'm feeling a little more confident now. We'll see. We definitely are, and I've got this in some slides down the road, but I will say this now, that we seem to be back to a more typical spring selling season. It's the first time we've seen something like this in Edmonton since 2019. In 2020, start of COVID, and then the market kind of hit late into the summertime, and then it was early in 2021, and then of course last year was pretty crazy, both starting in January and kind of leveling off around April or May. So again, back to more of a typical spring market. There's just some information there from Melanie Bowles, who's the current chair of Ray, which is basically just talking about how things are improving. Ultimately, what happened is we have not been as high or as good as the last 2 years, 2021 or 2022, but we're trending better than we were during 2017 and 2018. So again, we're back to kind of a things are happening. Something else that's interesting, and I saw this slide, and then I talked to another power team member, Pierre Papineau from Overview Property Inspections, who kind of unrelated, we didn't even bring this up, but he did say that there's a different type of buyer out there. Pierre had said that he was actually doing quite a few townhomes and semi-attached and stuff like that. And normally when the market gets going, it's led by single family homes. That gets overpriced, then people start looking at some of these less expensive options. But it does seem that we've got a different type of home buyer in Edmonton, very value based, and a lot of it would be because of interest rates. That they're basically saying, look, this is going to cost me a little bit more money with interest rates, so maybe I'm going to be a little bit more value focused and start not necessarily looking at the detached units, and start looking at semi-attached and the townhomes. What's happened here? That's all right. I'll skip over that one. So interesting that I saw this slide just actually not too long ago as well, that after a record-breaking home starts for new builds in 2022, things have kind of leveled out a little bit and have actually gone down in March, and they do attribute that to higher interest rates. Obviously, new homes have a higher price tag because they're new, and interest rates are having an effect on that. So it's not to say that it's in a rough shape, but certainly after a banner year last year, things are slowing down a little bit. I always like to put slides like this up. This was a job fair that happened not too long ago, like a week or two ago. 30 employees at the job fair looking for employees. And so you can see, I'm not sure how well you can see that, probably the online people better. But there's definitely some retail stores on there, some retail businesses, but there's also some pretty good heavy hitters on there as well. And they were all at this job fair. They're all looking for employees. We all want to know where things are going for rental vacancies and rental rates. This was some information from Hope Street, which is a property management company, and they said that rents are definitely going up. And not only that, rents in Edmonton have gone up the most. Edmonton private landlords have experienced a 26% increase in rents over the course of the past 6 months. So says Hope Street. Some great news there. So why are rents going up? Because vacancies are going down. It's hard to believe this, but there was 1 million people that moved to Canada last year. 1 million people, basically the size of Edmonton, moved to Canada. So the first time ever in the history of Canada that 1 million people have moved here. We now are at something like 39,500,000, like we're so close to 40 million. And a lot of them are going to come to Alberta, right? And the expectation this year in 2023 is another 500,000 people are coming. So we kind of have this double wonderful thing happening in Alberta again. We've got immigrants coming to Canada, and a lot of them are going to come from Alberta, but we also have increase in job opportunities. So we have in-migration from other parts of Canada, BC and Ontario leading the way. Just a sidebar note on that, I thought this was interesting. 25% of the Canadian population does not speak English or French. So the article here was about businesses adapting to people that don't speak English or French. So for those of you that have rental properties now and you want to be there and be greeting these 1 million plus immigrants, many of whom that don't speak English or French, what are you doing to make it easier for them to rent your properties? I love this slide. I've been sitting on this slide since January. I've been anxiously waiting to show it to you. I've said on this stage before that if I could write a one-word book on where to invest, that word would be jobs. Jobs bring people, and that's what causes a market to grow. This is over the course of 2016 to 2022. Alberta Treasury Branch says these are the top 10 fastest growing cities in Alberta. The thing that I love about this slide is take a look at how many are in the Edmonton area. A full 50% of that slide is either Edmonton or a community immediately outside. The other three are Calgary and a couple of communities, and then you've got Lacombe and Lethbridge. This is the place to be. It's a great slide. A couple other things. Just quickly talk about the fact that the Capitol line, the good news is the Capitol line south of Century Park is continuing to go. However, there is some significant cutbacks. So just something to keep in mind. But also another thing that I thought with the LRT that's interesting is there's 2 new stations that are ready to open up in the next year. Blatchford, or the old internet or municipal airport, there actually is construction going on there, and there's 2 new stations that are poised to open up in the next year. Thought that was interesting. Sidebar note, because I do live in the southeast, so I travel around and near the Southeast Valley line all the time. That line is still stuck in the muck, and it's indefinite as to when that thing's going to open up. I was at a not-for-profit meeting last week, and somebody attended the meeting, and they are in a mess there. Who knows when that thing's going to open up. Couple of last little things here. Sorry, there's things that keep popping up on my screen here. So Forbes magazine touted Edmonton as one of the top travel places in the world to come to. Cuisine and our history and stuff like that. It was a great article, and I thought that was something worth looking at. I know we're running out of time here. Does anybody know what this is? We're used to seeing stuff like this for the Oilers games and for NFL football. This is an arena in Paris, France that has about 14,000 people in it watching people play video games. Big. And guess who's looking at maximizing this? Edmonton is getting full in. Andrew Knack is a massive video game fan, and he's spearheading this. There already was something recently where there was 3,500 people in attendance, and they're looking to make things bigger. So just interesting stuff. If you're a video gamer, I just keep thinking that my 17 and 15-year-old keep throwing in my face when I said, you can't make money off of playing video games. Apparently you can. So what does all this mean? So I'm going to turn around because I can't read this screen here. So population growth for Edmonton and Alberta. We already right now have the lowest rates and rental rates, and we have the lowest real estate prices, but they are on the rise. Calgary, for anybody that doesn't know, Calgary is extremely hot right now. They are absolutely going bonkers down there. I've always believed this. I heard this on a rain stage long ago, and I've seen it happen in all sorts of businesses. Edmonton follows Calgary. We don't know when. Could be 2 months, could be 18 months. But as long as Calgary continues to be hot, it's going to break in Edmonton eventually. We just don't know when. But it's definitely a market to keep an eye on, is Calgary. Okay. And then we talked about jobs attracting. I showed this slide as well in January. A lot of us from Mogul went through the Real Estate Investment Network, or RAIN. This was a slide that was always great. And I showed how, based on the information I provided in January, that we were in employment growth and population growth in Alberta. I'm now back 4 months later, 3 months later, and with some of the slides, have we potentially moved to rental increased demand and decreased vacations? Certainly that slide from Host Street suggested that.